So after 25,000 people, I've learned a few things about how people react and what makes people tick and what makes people get a certain outcome and other people not get a certain outcome. Even from different backgrounds, even from the same background, you can get just dramatic results that are different. So we know that in order to change anything in your life, you need to change your state, your story, and your strategy. This program is mostly about changing that strategy. You know, the specific things that you need to do, but I want to take a little time here and just address some things that you can do emotionally to get yourself prepared to do this. So if you don't know my story, I was paralyzed on a football field at 21 from the waist down. And the reason I share that with you is because I went into a frame of mind where I became a victim, where I was told by my doctors I would never walk again. I was told by my doctors that I would have to take these pain medications. I was told by another doctor that if I didn't have a certain type of surgery, a specific type that he was only specialized in, then I certainly would never be able to feel my legs again. And I started having all these doubts, and I had this confusion. And before I know it, not only did I get paralyzed from the waist down, but I just got paralyzed in life. Not making a decision in itself became the decision. And I literally, weeks turned into months, and then months turned into a year, and it just seemed like I was going nowhere. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation before. You had a tragedy happen to you, or there's been a catastrophe or at a certain point of your life, and you carry it longer than you have to. Now, in my case, I had a physical problem, and it just manifested into something emotionally that just put me in a very dark place. And I got hopeless. Now, there's a difference between being hopeless and suffering. Now, when I was hopeless, in that worst state, hopeless meant that I didn't think that I could get out of it. I eventually went from hopeless to just suffering. And suffering meant, yeah, my situation was bad, but I started to see that there was light at the end of the tunnel. I started doing research on anybody and everybody who's ever had a paralyzing injury and walked again. Anybody and everybody who has just had some kind of miraculous discovery. And it always started with this. It always started with what were they focused on next? And then whatever happened to them, what did it mean to them? My problem is that my injury meant to me is that I was worthless. It meant to me that there was no other alternative other than this very drastic procedure. And it scared the daylights out of me. And I just lived in fear for such a long time. And then somehow at one point I went up just not wanting to do this anymore. I just woke up and I said, this is not worth it. I either have to end the way my life is going right now, or I have to make a drastic change and just shift. And I remember literally almost passing out and then waking up feeling refreshed, like feeling clear, like feeling like the weight of the world had been lifted off me, like I didn't have all this confusion running through my head. I didn't have all this depression. I didn't have all this hopelessness. I just said enough is enough. Now, I didn't get up and walk away after that, but that was a defining moment from when I went from a victim to now somebody who's going to take full responsibility for my life. And what did that mean for me? That meant that I was going to work on little things. I was going to work a little bit harder every day to just try to wiggle my toes. I was going to work a little bit harder to learn a little bit more about what did I need to do nutritionally to feed my nervous system? What did I need to do rehab-wise to be able to get my legs moving again? And each day I just took a little step a little bit further. And eventually I started making progress. But here's what the challenge was, is that the difference between before and where I was at that moment is I didn't celebrate my little wins. And I share this with you not because I want you to give you sympathy for having gone through something like this, is that you're going to have some challenges when you do this. You're going to have some days where you feel like this doesn't work, or this is not for me, or I jumped off the wagon last week and I ate 14 donuts. Here's the truth of the matter. Just get back on. Just reframe your space again and reset. Forgive yourself for what you've done before and start right now. From this moment forward, you say, okay, this is where I'm going to start today, even if I'm 400 pounds, if I'm 600 pounds, if I'm 20 pounds overweight, if I'm 4 dress sizes too big, wherever you are right now, this is where you start. And when you fall off the wagon, don't worry about what you did before, get back on. We want to associate right now with what this means to us. What does it mean to you when you fall off the wagon? What does it mean to you when you make a mistake? What does it mean to you when you gain 6 pounds? Do you tell yourself, well, just screw it. I'm just going to go ahead and eat the cake. I've already done this. I'm already this far into the hole. That's negative thinking. It's not just negative thinking. It's just poor behavioral choices. If you want to have the extra piece of cake, have the extra piece of cake, but be honest about it. I want to do it because I feel sad. I want to do it because I want to share in a birthday party. Be honest with yourself about whatever it is. When you fall into these depressive modes, and this is where I was, and this is really where a distinction happened for me, is that when I was in my most depressed state, I was only focused on one thing. I was focused on myself. I was focused on myself. When I started seeing the people around me getting hurt, and I started seeing the relationships that were very close to me starting to get more distant, that's when I realized I needed to focus on things outside of myself. And that little shift there, doing things for myself to help other people, doing things for myself to make other people's lives better, that's when I started to say, okay, that this is something I can keep fighting for, even if I have to fight for years to make this much progress, it's worth doing it. Now, fortunately, I've made little progress as we went, but little progress turns into big progress, and before you know it, it's exponential progress. Same thing's going to happen here with you. Same thing's going to happen here with you. So I want to discuss two concepts for you. One is called associative conditioning, and then obviously that one is the pain and pleasure principle. Associative conditioning is when you basically take something that's happening in your life or a food or some reason why you choose to do something, and you've associated a good feeling with that. And then the pain and pleasure principle is basically this simplistic form of how our brains work. Now, the neurology of our body is extremely complex, but when you break it all down to when the brain goes through all of its processes and has all these different neurology wiring patterns to it, at the end of this, your experiences, your past experiences, your future wants, your needs, whatever it is you're aligning with right now, the brain makes the decision based on, will this decision give me pain or pleasure? And that's it. And if you can really grasp what the pain and pleasure principle is and the associative conditioning, how you're conditioning yourself to associate these things to what it is that you want, if you get that and you really get that and how to master that, you can change anything in your life. You can change your relationship. You can change your body. You can change your financial situation. That's the juice. That's the secret sauce to make all of this work. So I'm going to break these two things down for you here in this next chapter.